This would actually be the second time that I reviewed Wii Sports Club. Before, there was only 2 sports that you could play, tennis and bowling. Now they made the other 3 available to play, so I thought it'd be fun to go back and finish up reviewing this title. This is an HD version of the best-selling Wii Sports game for the Wii. I spent many hours playing baseball and golf for the original game, so I was really looking forward to the updated versions. You choose a club to join before you start up the game. Most likely you're going to join a club based on your area, but it's up to you. The clubs are there as a way of having a competition. It's a bit interesting to see how different clubs are doing in different sports, but really it's something you're not going to look at more than once. Now there are 3 new sports to play. If you want to hear about tennis and bowling in detail, go watch my first part of my review of this game. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Quickly, I'll say that tennis was a lot of fun and it was very fast paced. Bowling can get a bit boring at times, but the controls were perfect. Now let's start with golf. Golf is a sport where you hit a small ball into a hole often in the distance, in the least amount of hits. I love playing golf games, and I like the original game's version of it. Now there are 3 courses that you could play with 18 holes apiece. Now they decided to get a little creative on how you had to play the game. You had to put the gamepad on the ground, and you would see a ball on the gamepad, and you pointed your Wiimote towards the ground, and you made the movements of swinging a golf club at the ball on the screen. On the gamepad you could see how your club is turning depending on the way you held it. Plus there's a power bar that shows you how much energy you're putting into a swing, and the direction you're hitting it based on the way that you hit it with your club. In theory, this is a good idea, as it made it more like a real game of golf. However, in execution, it sucks. This idea only works in real life when you can personally feel how hard you're swinging your club. It doesn't work as a viable way to play a game. It's distracting at the least, and it takes all the fun out of this sport. The controls would often get screwed up, so the way that you're swinging your hands would not be correct with the way the ball gets hit. You can reset your stance, but it still seemed off. I enjoy looking at my character and seeing how much he's pulling back on the club or how the club is turning. You could do that fine without the need of the gamepad. Just look at the TV screen. The problem is the TV screen doesn't have a power bar, so you have no context on how hard you're hitting the ball until you do it. Why not have a power bar on the TV screen and the gamepad? That would give people the option to play the way they wanted. If that was an option, this game would be 100 times more fun to play. I started ignoring the gamepad and just looking at the TV screen and gauging my own strength and hits. And I actually started getting better scores, just by totally guessing. Now the online game was great. You could play a 3 or 9 hole game. You would play with 2 other people and it felt quick enough so it didn't feel like a drag to play, unlike the bowling game. Plus if you want to play the single player game, it can be played with up to 4 people. Then there is baseball. It's a sport where you have to get around 4 bases to score points. You do this by hitting a small ball with a wooden bat. Okay, it's way more complicated than that. But overall, that's the gist of it. Now, there are actually 2 different ways of playing this game, in offense and defense. And you're going to get to experience playing them both. But let's start with batting, which is the offense. The controls are as simple as swinging your Wiimote like you were holding a bat. It would know in theory where you're holding your bat and the position of where you wanted to swing. I say in theory because it got messed up a lot. It did a good job of knowing the little moves that I would make, like a twist of the wrist or swinging my bat around for fun. However, it never felt like I was swinging upward or downward. It always seemed to do a straight ahead swing, which seemed odd when you have this great motion tracking technology, but not accurate swings. So really this is all you're doing when you're playing offense. So why not put more options into the way that you're swinging? So we actually make it so we feel like we're playing the game. Now defense, on the other hand, was totally different from the original game. This time they have you doing everything on the gamepad, from lining up pitches to catching. It was fantastic. Let's start with pitching. You hold down the ZL and ZR buttons to get into a pitching stance. Then it brings up a box that shows you where the ball will be thrown. Unlike batting, this really feels like you have control of the ball. You can choose to do different kinds of pitches with the A, B, X, and Y buttons. Plus you hold down those buttons to decide how much power you're going to put into it, and you move your gamepad around to decide where the ball is going to be thrown. So it puts more strategy and excitement into pitching the ball than there was in the original game's push a button then make a throwing gesture. Even fielding the ball is improved. In the original game they would do all the fielding for you. In this one, all the pop fly balls are the ones that you're going to decide whether it's going to get caught or not. When a ball gets popped up in the air, you're going to have to tilt your gamepad up to look for the ball. It's easy to find because there's a little arrow there to help you. You then move the circle icons into the circle icons of the ball, and if they match up fairly closely, you'll catch the ball. If not, you might miss it. Just like in the original game, the game bases how far you're going to get on the bases on how long the ball has been on the field without a fielder getting it. So the longer the ball stays in play, the more bases the batter gets. One of the things that I liked was that sometimes the pitchers would get tired, so you're not just going to want to throw out fastballs all the time, or there might be a real problem in the second and third inning of your pitcher getting tired. The online games were just as fun, and it played just like the single-player game. This sport could only be played with 2 people, but that's not really a big surprise since it would pretty much be chaos any other way. Then finally, there is boxing. It's a sport where you hit another person through 3 rounds to try and knock them out. If you saw my review for the original Wii Sports, you're going to know I didn't like boxing at all. Using the nunchuck didn't work as a second hand, and the cord would often get in the way, and overall, it was just kind of boring to play. This time they changed up the controls. You can play 1 or 2-handed. That means if you want to play using both of your hands, you're going to need 2 Wiimotes. And really playing both of these modes, this is the option that you're going to want to go with. When I played one-handed, it always felt like I didn't have control of my character the way I should. You only have control of your most dominant hand. The other one is just kind of there, not doing anything. 2-handed, you can mix up the punches and jabs on different hands. You hold your Wiimote tilted to the side like you're making a pyramid, and the game reads where you are. You then move your gloves to block punches, or you can move your body to dodge punches. Now the game is as simple as hitting the other character until the other person's life bar is at 0, and just hope they don't get up. I really wish to say that there was more to this, but there really isn't. You could do different kinds of moves, but they were a bit dubious on when they would work. I would say the game would read my normal punches 90% of the time, but when it came to jabs or uppercuts, since the movements were a little bit more complex, like moving your Wiimote in a curving motion, it would do it accurately about 60% of the time. You could play this online in 1 or 2-handed mode, and just like the other sports, it worked just fine. The one problem I would say about the online mode, and this is true of all the sports in this collection, is the lack of voice chat. Some of these games would have been greatly improved with the addition of voice chat. There is text chat that has preset taunts or congratulations, but most of the time I didn't even bother using these. If you choose, you can get Miiverse posts throughout this game, and that was fun. However, it often repeated the same Miiverse posts over and over again, so that could get a little irritating. In addition to the regular games, there are multiple training exercises for each of the sports. Each of the training exercises focused on a different part of the sport for you to improve on. Sometimes the training exercises were as simple as punch an object like in boxing, but at other times they had fun twists to it, like chipping bingo for golf or mystery box pitching for baseball. They did a good job of improving the ways that I played the sport while keeping it entertaining. Unlike most Nintendo games, this one comes at a strange cost. You can play all the games for $1.99 a day, or you can have unlimited time on one sport for $9.99. Baseball and boxing are sold together for $9.99, so I'm guessing Nintendo realized no one's gonna buy boxing, and they just kind of threw it on as an extra when you bought baseball. They're kind of like, okay, we know boxing sucks, let's just throw it in with baseball. So that would mean it's basically $40 to unlock them all. However, coming in at the end of the month is a retail disc version of all the games unlocked from the start, and that game is currently going for about $40. No difference on if you bought the digital version or the disc version, and that makes no sense. Why not make the disc version with everything unlocked a bit cheaper as to encourage us to buy it? Right now it's kind of just better to just pick and choose which games we want. Wii Sports Club is actually pretty fun. Sure, there are problems with the golf game, but I bet eventually I could get used to its odd controls. Playing the games on single player was fun, and the online games were even better. Sure, waiting for people in bowling was a little boring, and not having voice chat with the people that we're playing with was a bummer. Right now, you can play the game for 48 hours for free, and that includes all the sports during that time. But worst case scenario, it's $1.99 a day to try out the game. And I say go for it, and you should download it now.